Welcome in, welcome in.
Welcome in, welcome in. Welcome back to Do It for the Story. I'm Morgan.
And I'm Stacey. Cheers.
Cheers to us. Cheers to the pod.
Cheers to everybody. Thanks for listening. At the top of the episode, just want to remind everybody, if you haven't already subscribed, downloaded on Apple, Spotify, please do that so we can get a little bit of a boost.
Rate us,
and share us with 2 people that you know. That would be great.
Whoever gets us to 37 5-star reviews, you screenshot that.
We're coming to you.
DM us, email us, however you want to get it to us.
We are coming to your doorstep.
We're coming to you. We're at minimum going to send you a sticker.
Unannounced. Now, what's going on? How are you, Morg?
I'm good. You know, I just have this on the brain because I feel like I never get to watch TV. You know, I'm a mom, I have a podcast, I have a job. And I just had some time doing housework and stuff and doing a ton of laundry.
Love that for you.
I was like, I'm going to do a little binge. I got on Netflix. I never get to do this. And I watched Nobody Wants This, Aaron Foster's new show.
Oh, right. With,
Dex Shepard.
I was about to say Kristen Stewart.
No,
that's not right.
Kristen Bell.
Kristen Bell.
And, what's his name from, that OC show?
Gossip Girl.
No.
Oh, no, he was OC.
OC.
Sorry.
Anyway.
Yeah, I forget. But yeah, I know.
Loved it.
That looks cute. So no spoilers because I have that on my list to start tonight.
No spoilers. It was fantastic. It was a rom-com that I actually did laugh. And that's what I've always liked about Anne Foster. She's funny. So,
did you watch it solo? Or?
I watched it solo. It was great. Total me time. I would totally watch it with anybody.
He would
enjoy it.
He
would have enjoyed it. I would watch it again.
Yeah, I have that on my list. Cease and I just finished Perfect Couple, also on Netflix. And I didn't want to bring it up to no dream.
I'm finished.
Oh, you did finish it. I know JD was watching it.
I did another. I never get to do this, but I was like, I had to do all this just stuff around the house, and I know I have upcoming weekends coming up.
Yeah,
and
that was good.
Nicole went ham on that.
It was a great cast.
Felt like that HBO show that some of them were even in.
And I think,
you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Was it
White
like the
Lotus.
same writer or something? It felt like somebody from there.
Actually, no, I had to look it up because I literally said that to Joe. I said, who directed or produced this? Because it has to be the same as White Lotus.
It felt like even the music, I was just like, the vibes were so similar, but it was phenomenal. Yep. So 2 highly recommends on Netflix. And other than that, God, I don't know. I felt like it was just like a really busy work week. And I just was ready, heading to the weekend. I will tell you this. This was the other thing that I did. I went to Groundswell Yoga.
Oh,
the yoga studio that just opened. Duffy is the owner, my dear friend. And I got my membership. I freaking went already like 3 times last week. It's my perfect thing that I do right after I drop off Angel. And I'm like, I'm mixing it in with my weights. Lauren Bostic, I am doing the weights. Okay. But when I'm not doing the weights, it's been so helpful for I just have not been into a studio since before 2020.
Around here, they haven't had great yoga studio times. A lot of it like caters to the retired or like the stay-at-home mom, I guess.
Stay-at-home mom, I think,
to yoga at this time, but I'm pumped. I haven't gone yet.
They have like 7 o'clock class. They have classes that are like the one that I go to is because I have a limited work schedule for my psoriatic arthritis, so I can go to the 10 o'clock class before I start work, and it's amazing. I have been doing yoga since I was 22 and like going into studios and whatever. And I lived in Hawaii, like hands down, this is the best studio I've ever been in.
Oh, the space looks gorgeous.
The vibe, it's the stunning space, and it's the vibe. It's literally the old opera house.
Yeah, so it's great natural lighting,
the high ceilings, and the floors are so like
that's cool.
Old school wood. And there's a brick wall. Like it's just that.
That's what I said to Joe. It was funny because I wanted to go to one of the classes yesterday, and I wasn't feeling well, but I even had said, I was like, well, there was because they also do some outside classes like at the Annapolis Sailing School.
Yep.
And I said, well, Duffy has a class at 8 a.m. that I would, on a normal, I'm feeling great day. Like I would have loved to go that. And it was at the sailing school. But I said, actually, my mime this week, I feel like I need an in-studio class.
You would have loved yesterday, Miko, my friend who Duffy was our yoga teacher trainer. And Miko's class is like a warm hug. Like it's a really great, just like you're slow and low and you're in the positions and you're really like just.
Love that.
Yeah.
Nice restorative.
Yeah.
Well, great. Yeah. Well, health is wealth. So, you know.
Yeah.
I'm
so
excited
that was
to go in there, but I'm just saying, everybody get your asses.
And then I think we still did make it out on the water. We went out for the last Maritime Museum and Park. September sunset.
That was on Thursday night.
Concerts. Yes. We popped over there on the boats and then did a little putz around and hung out at EYC. And
I wasn't feeling great. So I said, I had to lean into the rest. Mm-hmm. But like you, if it's nice outside, I'm not going to be in my home. No. And especially at this point, we're in the last weekend of September. So I'm like, give me all the outside time I can get. Like Joe and I literally have been outside until sunset 7. Like every day after work, I'm like, I need to go outside.
I'm really into circadian rhythm right now.
We know you are. You've mentioned it.
I'm dead.
But
gotta get out there.
We went. We did a rearrange. I got my new Pottery Barn chairs.
Oh my God, the chairs are gorgeous.
I've been dying. I couldn't wait to get them. I needed a little velvet top.
They look expensive. I'm not saying that they were, but I'm saying they look.
They were an investment piece.
They look like they could be
have them forever.
A like a nice warm, not a cold, like a nice warm boutique hotel. You know what I'm saying? Like lounge. Area. Stunning.
I like nice things.
I know. I love that.
Work hard, play hard, buy hard. No, I'm kidding.
Wow,
I'm a very
guys.
responsible person.
Just kidding. No, I just think that they were really. I'm sorry, they were. I'm sure that they were a good price, but I'm saying
my chairs are from Pottery Barn, so I mixed in what I needed.
I'm saying they're giving restoration hardware vibes, like really expensive, is what I'm trying to tell you. I don't think you spent a lot of money. I think you spent a totally appropriate. This is our long-term home.
Exactly.
Yeah. So they're stunning.
So we did little rearranging and then also planning for our next little home projects. And
yeah, we're in that mode too. Cause like the season change, you got to get it in. Oh, that was the other thing, dude. I was proud of myself yesterday. Got a bunch of inside season change, cleaning out, yada, yada, just freshening. I still have more stuff that I need to do, but I know, it's all organized now. But the gardens, I also did my trim back. I'm seeing if I can get my kale to come back to life. And just trimmed all my squash back and ready to plant.
It's a season change.
Declutter.
Go through the closets. Because now everyone, I will say, we should have another topic kind of about the season changes of how to take it. I love a good look in your closet. What didn't you wear? Can you justify why you didn't wear it, that you would keep it or?
Right. And I had I said the same thing yesterday. I was like, Joe, just as we're going to do this before our next Airbnb guests come, they're coming over boat show. And I was like, found some areas that we totally need to get rid of these. We don't wear these clothes. We don't wear these, shorts that were great board shorts for Hawaii. I'm not wearing those anymore. What are we going to
do with them? Hold on to them and then make our kids
and they're not right. And they're not worth enough. But now at the same time, I was going through, just trying to pick out an outfit for yesterday. I was going through my closet. I was just laughing at how much of my clothes that I do not wear, but I am not getting rid of you. That DKNY or
it's very different, like a gown,
a specific thing that I'm really into.
A t-shirt,
right? A t-shirt or I seriously have some cute workout shorts, and I'm I genuinely don't even use these, so I'm not. Some of them you'll want them,
or
just have overflow,
or just get rid of it, stuff like that too. Because that's the thing. If someone else, I have a bike that I used to have in DC that before I was actually biking as much, realized this is so not the right size frame that I like the bike. And I said to Joe, I'm getting rid of this thing. I'm going to see if one of the kids in the neighborhood wants it.
Yeah. If you can't use it, it's just get it. It's taking up space.
It's taking up space in my mind, in my home. And it adds
less is more.
Having more shit adds more problems.
Yes.
Not more money, more problems, more shit, more problems.
All I can say is genuinely, I'm excited about this episode because I think it's going to be fun and we need to do it.
So getting into it.
No, but I'm saying all I want to do though is after this episode is now I just want to like run home and like do more of the declutter that's on my list.
Yeah, and when you
I
go,
just want to get the itch, and then I just got to.
It's like you were saying. Last thing I'll say on the topic, when you were like, I rarely have time to, because I work from home, and you probably do this too. It's the blessing and the curse. The curse is you're in your home, but you're working. So I will look around and see stuff where I'm like, why can't I remember to do that thing on Sunday when I have time, or like, you know, more taking inventory of the little projects or like the cleaning that needs to be done or something. Mm-hmm. But it is the room by room. I always say this to myself, take an hour and go room by room, like make a list. And I did this the one day. And Joe was like, I did it yesterday. Joe and I have a shared list on our phones of like house stuff. And where we'll add, it was more like we had the list when we moved in and we kept adding to it of, buy this thing, fix this thing, order this thing.
Because there is always a list.
Yeah, we're like, this is great because we can add to it and check things off. We do the same with groceries and stuff. But I then the other day had remembered, and I had my time to go room by room of every project we'd mentioned. Joe was traveling. He's like, yeah, when I landed, I was like, whoa, a lot of, because it'll tell you on your iPhone, it'll say like
my anxiety spiked.
No, but he was like, no, good call. Like, we wrote it down. But I also, room by room, then was like decluttering, like the makeup drawer, the hair products, That
I actually, when I did this was forever ago, when I did it with the Yucca app, Yucca, whichever it is. When I did that, because it's the cleansing of, I got rid of a bunch of shit, but it was also knowing that all those chemicals were out of my house. It was like a doubly like, you know.
Yeah, like I don't need this.
So much.
I don't need this.
And the interesting thing was, because some of it you're just holding on to because it was like that nice thing of makeup that you bought and you don't really use.
This is a good brand that costs a certain amount of money.
Right. And now I'm like, oh, this is actually trash. And now I get it out of my house. Right. But also, God, the less truth. And this is the last thing I'll say, and then we can totally get into the topic. But since I said it, and since that moment where I have pared down to, I use so much less shit on my skin, and my skin has never looked so better. And it's like, it seems like common sense, you know, and not for someone with PCOS or like underlying issues that are causing a skin problem, which I do have rosacea. So it totally that.
No, yeah.
But like, I'm like, so crazy because of the marketing, and it gets in your head that you're like, oh, if you have this, put this on, and
that expensive means better. Yeah, that's a whole other frustrating thing. But on that note too, because when I was cleaning up the makeup drawer and the hair products and stuff, it also is like, we're not all idiots. You know how much stuff costs, and so it's like, it's not cheap. Mm-hmm. You know, in general terms, a lot of the like better makeup brands that you're thinking of. But I approach it like, because I hate personally when people think this way. I approach it like, I think his name was Tom Green, Oprah's former like nutritionist, definitely was like nutrition, some part of her back in the 90s, Oprah, you know, poor Oprah, they're always like magnifying her weight loss journey. Mm-hmm. But they were kind of working with viewers, like going into their homes, helping them. And the first thing they would do was open up their pantry, and he would like literally take a trash can and throw out anything that was bad. He was like, you can't. People are like, oh, but that was that much money, or that was that. I feel the same way. Just when people are like, don't waste food, I totally agree. But it's not when it's like, oh, I'm wasting this makeup product. I'm like, I wouldn't donate this with good intention. Knowing that, I'm like, oh, chemicals are bad for me. You can go have it. But yeah, anyway, that's my tangent. But I just was thinking of like, get rid of. I know. It just felt good to not even worry about. I'm like, when you put it, it's out.
Exactly. When you put it into the perspective of, and because of the money thing, when you put it into the perspective of, if someone tricked you into buying, you know, a literal jar of straight up chemicals, and you were like, oh, I'm so annoyed I spent $20 on that, I'm still going to drink the jar of chemicals that this person, you know, it's like the same. If you actually put it into that mental space, you're kind of like, okay, well, who actually cares about the money? The money's been spent at this point. So what's the difference?
Right. You're like,
No one's saying you have to replace it with anything. If anything, they're just saying don't use anything.
My health. Let's get into today.
Anyway, let's get into it.
So we were thinking about like, okay, what's our topic of today? What do we want to talk about? And one thing, because it's interesting. We're actually coming up on not 1 year of being live. Our first episode dropped in February, or no, was it? It was March 2024.
First week of March.
But we started recording in this time. It was definitely October. It was like fall.
Oh, was it?
Of 2023. Yeah, we started playing around. So it's kind of like been, so in that time, we also during it, we were, oh, what episodes should we be releasing first, and looking at all of our content. And the one thing we didn't come out with first, because we knew obviously most of the people when you're introducing are people that know you. We didn't do like an introduction. Some podcasters do a full on intro, learn about me. What is this podcast? And we kind of just jumped into vulnerability of like topics. You know, our first one was racist and bigots. You can't sit with us. If you haven't listened, go back to episode 1 where we talk about just our perspective as Black biracial women, and, you know, gave a glimpse into our introduction to us from our childhood, because we knew in conversation we would reference things, and people who don't know us, it's like, let's just be upfront about who we are and all that jazz. So today we thought we'd have a little bit more fun on the get to know, with a little bit more deliberate questions and that we'll answer.
Yeah. And now that we're further along, you know, that we've posted, 30 plus episodes.
Yeah.
So now you know us just from whether it was now that you know my birth story or you know my health stuff, but also you know how our brains work, and you know how the type of information we take in and stuff like that.
We're pretty unfiltered.
But so because you have that glimpse where you know us to that degree, we're like, oh, well, let's like now go back and answer some of like the questions that are from way back. And,
questions. Yeah. And then kind of inspired too by other questions people have asked us.
Yeah.
Since recording. Do you want to start first?
I was going to say, let me just ask.
Because we'll both answer these questions.
Yeah, we're both going to answer each question.
But like you start with...
I'll ask the first one, you ask the second one. We'll
Perfect.
We'll ping pong from there.
We will popcorn
it corporate America. Oh, God. I wonder who the first person was that said, popcorn it to Timmy. Anyway, so what inspired you both to start this podcast, and how did you come up with the name Do It for the Story?
Okay, so Stacey speaking. I will answer from my perspective of, so what inspired us both? I think we mentioned it and some other hinted at it. We had both talked about doing a podcast for a long time. Didn't really know what we want the premise to be. It was just something that we kept saying, like, we should do a podcast. And Morgan had a blog back in the day.
You had a blog?
God, oh my God. I had a blog.
You had a blog.
Right. I had a blog back in the day.
You had a blog first, actually.
And how we talked about doing individual things, and obviously being sisters, we always thought it would be doing something together. So why we started it, something we always wanted to do.
Right. But also remember too, that we always even remember we tried to start that like clothing shop or whatever.
Oh my God.
And, what else? I mean, just even honestly, I just feel like we were always creative and entrepreneurial.
Yeah, creative. And I think too, at least for me, being a creative, I don't get that fulfillment out of my job, my career, which is the majority of my awake hours. And it, my husband always says this: if you're not happy at work, you're not going to be happy in life. Right. And so you have got to find moments of other happiness if you're not getting it at work, so you can have that balance. Right. It's not just like work-life balance, meaning I work 8 hours, I have this amount of time to myself. So anyway, I needed that creative part of my brain to be flexed. And also, I think it's therapeutic. And so much of what's going on in our lives, we realized it's going on in other people's lives, but we didn't know because not everybody is as vulnerable as us. And we're just natural. Morgan and I specifically are sharers. And I think it was also like, okay, if we can kind of share what we have going on and help other people with their crowdsourcing that maybe they don't have exposure to of us in this sister circle that we naturally have. So yeah. No, and creative, and we're talkers, and we want to share and help people.
Yeah. And I think too, it's like I said in the disability episode, just about what Bruce Springsteen was saying in the Renegades podcast when he and Obama were interviewing each other, of just, I personally have always felt like there was just like something I had to get out. And I think a lot of creatives have that in whether it's like musically or, you know, through like you're writing songs in the form of you're actually writing the lyrics or you're, you know, writing the melody or, you know, there's something in you. And I just don't know how else to describe it. I've always felt that way, whether it was like even literally how I was getting dressed in the morning. Like I have a way to express myself, you know? And for me, that and being at a place in life and having enough experiences that I feel confident enough and strong enough and self-aware enough of being like, okay, now I'm ready to actually really put something out there. And even if you don't agree with me, I know my intentions are good and I'm ready to have conversations.
Yeah. The why is definitely different than the why now for me. The why now is just like you're saying, like I'm 37 years old. I just give zero fucks. There's been too much stuff it's going on in our lives personally and then everyone's lives as a society that I'm just like, the whole quiet thing to me is so complacent. And I just...
Well, and yeah, exactly.
So that's
totally
for me
that's
personally. It's just like
exactly.
you said, like I've mentioned, I think before, but one of my closest girlfriends has always said to her in her mind on a spirituality side, the Holy Spirit is like feeling inside you that's telling you to speak up when you get that moment of like, I should say something, you know? And I was like, I really love that interpretation because that's also, I think we say it often on here, oftentimes when you speak up, others will agree. Yeah. And that was how we were raised, like speak up for yourself. So it's also, again, that megaphone for stuff that people aren't putting a megaphone on.
No, and I wish I could remember who it was, but it was one of these doctors that was testifying. I don't even know exactly how to describe it, but in Washington, I guess in front of Congress about the Food and Drug Administration and the difference between chemicals here in the US and food and overseas. And many of these folks also have podcasts to have a platform to get the word out about this stuff. And one of them had said something like, you know, part of this process is you going on your own journey, whether mentally or physically, and healing from that, and then using your voice to then help others heal. And that is genuinely, I felt so seen, you know, when I read that, because I was like, there's too many things that are coming towards me, too many people that are asking for my help after my experiences. And so this is just a great way to heal myself and hopefully help heal others.
Yeah. And it's just, again, it's fun for us. And if it's fun, we're going to do it.
Well, and then the name.
But the second part of it, how we came up with the name. We've mentioned this in other episodes. And I think we did maybe even in our little teaser, but it was just a line. We always said, do it for the story when we were like.
I think teens probably.
Teens and beyond. And it was kind of like, usually in situations where like, okay, do it. Like, let's be extreme, get on stage. It was like, do it for the story and get on stage, live, have fun, and just, do the thing and don't look back. Because if you're not going to do the thing, you're not going to have a story.
And really that's how
wouldn't the story be better?
Wouldn't it be better
than saying, oh, I could have done this?
Yeah. And I think that's honestly how we grew up too. You know, we would hear the stories of our parents and our grandparents and like the world travels and the craziness and speaking up, you know, not just from having experiences of being like, I went to this place, but also saying the thing that needed to be said in the moment that, you know, standing up for that other person or having a good time. Or,
I will say on the do it for the story last of that topic, as sisters, we had a huge advantage of having each other and building each other's confidence or having each other's back. So it wasn't like, you know, in those times we were encouraging, like, just do it.
Totally.
But that's also kind of the thing. Like,
that's the thing.
Everybody else, doesn't always hear that. Like,
right. And we're inviting people into that circle, the sister circle.
Do it for the story.
Go ahead,
I'll
y'all.
ask the next one.
Yep.
Can you share a memorable story from your childhood that perfectly captures our sisterly bond?
I think for Stacey and I specifically, it's when we started saying tips to each other. I wish I could remember the moment that we, like the literal moment and how that was made up.
I think I kind of do.
Okay, that I would love, but so I'll say this and then you jump in. But so we would, Stacey's about to tell us a story of like the moment that we created this word up, but
which was
we would,
tips,
if we
not
both,
to be confused with diffs, which is also what we say when we're saying do it for the story.
yeah,
TIPS,
the
acronym,
is we would look at each other and we would either, if we were close enough, we would physically like touch the tip of our fingers,
tips,
or we just go tips, like meaning we agree with each other,
like,
same page. Yep. Same page. And it was a thing that only me and Stacey did and still do. But do you remember why it started?
Yeah, it wasn't like a thing that it was one day, typically as sisters. So we've mentioned this in others, but Morgan and I have 3 other sisters. So there's 5 daughters in our family altogether. And in the age order, Morgan is the second. It's Lindsay, Morgan, Kiki, me, and then our sister Mara, or we say Mimi. Mimi or Kiki, Morgan, and I were closer in age. Like we'd play together a lot. Like all the first 4 we played together often. We all were close in age, but it was during that time when it was me, you, and Kiki a lot because Lindsay's a little older.
Lindsay's older,
like,
so she's too cool.
I'm gonna read a book. You guys play.
I'm an adult.
And I remember we were at Grandma and Grandpa's. Like I can remember where we were. I don't remember exactly where. Sometimes, especially when then you go from 4 siblings playing to 3, there's, depending on what you're doing, there's a gang up on. And it was like a moment of, we were like, tips. It was about something. Tips was made up in that moment. And I remember, of course, poor Kiki, sweet Kiki, was like, I remember her feelings were hurt by it. She was like, you and Morgan always have tips.
Always have tips. That's right.
Yeah. So I still have a guilt, even when we're like tips, I still have this fear of missing out thing. Like a little part of me cringes even at tips. I'm like, but it wasn't like, it was a rando in a game.
I remember
like,
it being
made up.
Yeah. I
thing.
remember it being random. I just wish I could remember
and
what
then
it was.
It became like tips.
Yeah.
But we did that 2 other times because, it wasn't just tips. It was also trotters. That's real. Remember that?
Yeah, but what even was trotters though? I just remember saying it then because it became like a thing.
I don't know. I'll have to ask Kiki. I mean to have Kiki on the pod.
Oh my God.
She's like these bitches.
I'm dead. But yeah, I mean, but it's also like you were saying, you had your own things with Kiki and whatever.
Absolutely.
And so it's just the proximity
Kiki
too.
and I were
like
twins.
I don't know because we didn't ask because there was no need to ask. They weren't local to be able to do this, but I don't know if Kiki, Mimi, or Jinx, if they were here, would regularly want to be on the pod.
Oh yeah,
but everything that we've ever done, like when I did my blog, I always invited you guys to be a part of it. I was even like forcing it on you guys.
I did a co-author.
Exactly, you did a co-author,
guest blog,
and even we were like trying to sell those clothes in DC and stuff. We like I made you be the mom. We were going to totally do it all together. Like so, that's where I don't know if they
Kiki was in on that too.
Oh yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. Everyone was, even Jinx who was like refusing to help. I was like making help.
I think if they all lived in the neighborhood, I would definitely think Kiki would be on episodes.
I think Kiki would be regularly on, but I don't know if Jinx would be committed.
I don't know if Lindsay and Mimi would want to be.
Yeah.
No discredit. I just don't know. And I only think that's
what I would say. I think Kiki would be like,
but oddly enough, even as I'm saying that answer, and I'm asking myself, well, why wouldn't they? Like, well, maybe Linz would. Maybe Mimi would.
Maybe they would. That's what I'm saying.
It's because I'm going back to childhood and the saying of, not the saying, but when they say how children play is how they would be as adults. So I think I am just judging it. Like Kiki would totally be in. Kiki, we got you on next week.
There's never a time that Kiki also wasn't going to play with us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. Oh my God.
Jinx would be like,
I'm cool. I'm good. Okay, next one. What's the most outrageous story you've shared on the podcast so far, and how did your listeners react? Good one.
I think when I hear the question, I think outrageous, like funny, crazy, like where'd you push the limits?
Yeah.
And so if on that end, I would say the biggest reaction we got for like pushing the limits, do it for the story, get on stage kind of deal would be when the Snoop Dogg, the 420 episode.
Yeah.
We talked about smoking Snoop.
Everybody reacted to that across the
gamut.
It's
great.
Everyone loves Snoop. That's why he was the
Uncle Snoop
Olympic guy.
And then the other I would say is the racist and biggest you can't sit with this episode, because it was the first episode. People didn't know what we were going to talk about, and it was we were sharing with people that we knew only. Mm-hmm. And the overwhelming response, even from people that knew us at childhood, that were like, I didn't know this was going on, or like, I did, I'm sorry, or other people that then maybe weren't from childhood.
That were like, holy fuck.
That were like, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah, I had a lot of those that were like,
saw
oh,
the KKK?
Yeah.
Like in person?
Yeah.
Oh, like every day. School.
Exactly.
What are you talking about? Of course. Didn't everybody go to school with KKK?
They just don't wear their hoods at school.
Next question.
But yes, agree. Same.
Yeah. Okay.
Totally.
I was going to say, sorry, I didn't mean to.
No need to. I agree.
How do you decide, or I guess I can say, how do we, and then I'll ask you, how do we decide which personal stories to share, and are there any topics that are off limits?
I feel like I'm responding first to are there any topics off limits? Because it's like, now that it's said out loud, I'm not going to be able to stop thinking about that. Mm-hmm. I would say for me, I would not talk about any at this moment. I am always open to change, but at this moment, I don't think I would talk about any sexual experience I had with Joe.
Oh, I was going to say, for me,
yeah.
It's if they were here, because that, yeah, it's my story, but you can't not talk about your marriage without it. You're talking about someone else's story. That's a partnership.
Yeah.
And for me, as much as I love Real Housewives, I'm like, nah. I'd be Kendall and Kylie on the Kardashians.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have my man and my business on the show.
No, and that's where I think that's what I'm just like. That's like we talk about. I feel like Joe and Cease and Donahue in a like part of a story, but not like any of our own personal situations.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do that. All you need to know is I'm very happily married.
Yeah. I think if I was like needing to talk it out, then next thing you know, I'm like getting a divorce. What? You know what I mean? I feel like if you're like sharing like all that shit.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
I'm not talking about, because I started this off with the sexual.
I love
I'm not
watching
talking about like
Real Housewives on Bravo. So I'm saying I love it. I love that they have all their tea and drama, but all those women get divorced. Like, seriously, there's so many that it's just so sad. Like when they, I shouldn't say that. The ones that are really so like my relationship.
Yeah, when they're really
ends up
putting it
being
out
like
there.
womp womp.
Yeah.
And so I would be like, if you don't watch the Kardashians, I can tell you the older three sisters, their lives are out there. Kim, Khloe, and Court, everything, or have been throughout the years.
Yeah.
The younger two, Kendall and Kylie, literally never have had. I don't think Kendall's ever had a boyfriend on camera.
I still don't know who Kendall's boyfriend. I think, is she with Bad Bunny?
I don't know
now?
if she's I think she's technically single, but they always are like, she's still with Bad Bunny, or she's been seen with Bad Bunny and she's been seen with Devin Booker.
I just love that she keeps us guessing.
I'm like, do you?
Yeah.
But yeah,
and Kylie too. I feel like I don't know who. Sometimes she says who she's with. Sometimes she doesn't.
Exactly.
Love that.
She's with Timothy. What's his name? Willy Wonka.
Are they together?
Yeah.
I didn't know they were still together
because she doesn't have him film.
Oh, of course. I love that.
Right.
She doesn't need to.
Well, you asked me the next one.
Oh wait. No, the personal stories.
Okay, so how do you decide which personal stories to share? We've said that before on other ones a little bit. Not that we can't, but I was just meaning like if something's going on.
Yeah, I think we always kind of are. Someone actually asked me this the other day. I've actually had a couple of people ask this, so this is good that we actually put this down. But we started off when we were like, we're going to do a podcast by just first being like topic dump. And then we were like, okay, we're going to pick like from there, we picked our top 10 and then our top, whatever that we recorded in the beginning. So we started off with a huge running list, but in the day to day, our WhatsApp back and forth to each other is always just like, hey, also this random idea. And then we will just track it into our topic. Yeah. Like, we have a topic list. And then also just something that's going on with us. There's certain topics, like we said last week, or the week before, I forget when it dropped. My disability episode, we had said that we like always knew that we were going to record that, but we also know certain things are so vulnerable and personal that there's certain moments that we can record them. There's certain moments that then that episode can drop. And it's also then just things that are going on in the world. So we just adjust.
Yeah. We just, what do we, and then.
And what do we also in our moment, like.
What do we want to talk about?
What's physically happening with our bodies? What's mentally happening that we are like, I need to laugh today. So no, don't want to tell the birth story.
Or it's like, I don't remember if you were saying this earlier in the episode, honestly, when we were prepping, but like, I feel like it's been happening a lot since we have had the pod, but we will release an episode about a topic and then I see it in the news. So sometimes it's also reverse, not me seeing it always in the news, or not news, but like content, or this happens, or someone, it's people coming to me with it. And I'm like, okay, I got to talk about this thing. I've had so many people ask me about this, or I heard another person with this problem or frustration.
Yep.
But anyway, so same page on those. What's been the most surprising thing you've learned about each other since starting the podcast?
I remember actually saying out loud, oh, I know what it was, because I was like, what was that moment that I actually said out loud to you on the pod? I had no idea. And that it was so long ago, I didn't know that when we were in our 20s and you had first moved to DC and your acne was getting really bad, that you like literally would avoid certain interactions and just how like intense it was. Because I think even at that point, like, you know, something's always, especially I feel like with the physical, like for whoever it's happening to, even if it's bad, like it's always worse for you personally.
Totally.
So I don't think the sisters and I ever saw, like we knew you were starting to have breakouts, but I don't think we ever saw that it was like bad, like that bad, that you would ever think, I don't want to be out in public. So that's just, and in that moment, I remember, if I didn't say it, I remember thinking, wow, like if I personally, as your, not only your, one of your best friends, but like your sister who has seen you and knows you because I've like fucking shared all the things together, that like, that's wild of like, you just never fucking know what someone's going through.
Totally.
Like if I didn't know you were going through that, like husbands right now don't know what's going on with their wives and their daughters. And like, you could be so close to someone and not know. And to always ask and always do the real check-ins.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, no, totally. I think, I was thinking that was probably what I was thinking you were maybe going to say that, like, and I was trying to guess. And I was actually, for me, I think it's similar topics, but health stuff. You know, I knew, but again, I didn't know every detail. One, because you've been on the psoriatic arthritis side. So the episode of Morgan's Living with a Disability, Morgan's story. So go back and listen to that episode. I didn't know most of that. I have known by now outside of the pod, but the birth story stuff, I didn't know all of the details. Again, because I didn't, by the time you have the baby, then you're already in the psoriatic arthritis. It was kind of like that, the trauma of the birth. I can't even go back to ask you about it. I wouldn't have asked because I don't want to trigger somebody, but yeah, that for me, it was probably the birth story episode.
Yeah. And the cool thing about that too is you saying that you wouldn't have asked is like, I would have never expected anyone to have asked. And I never thought I want someone to ask. Like that never crossed my mind. You know, I was like, went to a therapist for that and everything. But what's been really interesting, and actually what my therapist said when I told her we were doing the podcast, she was like, this sounds like it's therapeutic for you. And I was like, you know, it is. And I remember when I was telling you the birth story, that was really therapeutic because it was you, but it wasn't like it. I don't think that moment would have ever happened if not for the podcast, because it forced me to have to tell you about it. I don't think I would have ever wanted to be that vulnerable again after my therapist, you know, and even having to tell, it's like, you know, when you say something out loud to one of your best friends or like your husband, like then it's really fucking real. Cause you just told someone that's like, I actually really fucking care about you and I'm going to remember that tomorrow. You know, it was like,
and I'll be completely honest. It was, and I mentioned it the other episode, I think in my infertility and acne episode, that part of my therapy journey related, obviously therapy is therapy, but I mean, the topics related to the infertility stuff. Part of it was also my therapist member saying, I think there's like real trauma here that like it's a blessing you have your sisters that have been through things. I didn't want to know all the details.
Yeah.
Truthfully.
No. Yes, absolutely.
That's why they don't tell. That's why moms don't sit down and go, well, my vagina tore.
Right. Right.
They're not going to do that. They're not going to say that part in your birth story. Like when I went to the hospital with you.
Yeah. Oh my God. That's why that Amy Schumer bit is so fucking good.
Yeah.
Go, just Google it. Google Amy Schumer birthing bit and you'll laugh your ass off. All right. Next up, can you describe a moment when you realized your podcast was making an impact on your listeners? Oh. I honestly feel like there's been a couple. I'm curious.
There have been a couple. And I think, I think from the first episode, I was like, wow. Mm-hmm. Because I was also hearing from, it wasn't, in my mind, I started to think I was hearing from friends of mine who are now parents to a biracial child. Mm-hmm. So there was some of that, but it was also actually a lot of my white males.
The white males, man. I love them, right? I gotta say.
Not just from the first episode, but like every episode. And even I've had some guy friends say like, oh, it's more for women. And I kind of feel bad because I have done a bad job of sharing it more broadly with some of my guy friends that I know aren't on social and the things and just doing a mile a minute, you know?
I know.
But I'm like, because what's so unique is most of them are married. And even this, it's like helping them know some things that their wives have gone through or go through. But yeah, I think it's literally had white male friends say, especially after episode 1, I listened to the episode. It really made me think, I'm so sorry that happened to you, but it really made me, it opened my eyes to things.
Yeah. That one. And then I was also thinking the recruiter tips one, because that one, we had a bunch of people that it was all types, but it was also the white males too.
Where they were tips from an unfiltered recruiter.
Yeah, tips from an unfiltered recruiter. And they were saying like, I do need to stick up more for, the people that I manage. Yes. I do need to be more of their advocate. Then you had some people that were like, yeah, I am getting screwed over and I do need to stick up for myself at work. People that literally got promoted into new orgs, raises, multiple stories.
Yeah,
like that.
Actually we should go back.
That stories.
Actually, I do want to do more recruiter job focused things
that got a big response.
About like career, because it did. And
yeah,
it was cool.
Because there were many people that said that they even sent it on to people, like people that had no connection to us because they're like, oh, you need to hear this right now. Mm-hmm. Because I think, that's an interesting thing too, because I feel like, and I'm glad, we're not like, this isn't and there's plenty, I'm sure, recruiter podcasts out there. And I'm glad that, I need a break from that. But I do like peppering that in to like everybody can connect to that stuff. All of us have jobs, and I do like peppering that into our content.
Exactly.
But anyway,
I agree.
I think those are probably.
But yeah, and I was going to say too, a lot of stuff too with the infertility. I think like the women's health, I get a lot of PCOS.
Ton of the PCOS.
I've referred, and then again, I am still open book. DM me. That actually, the PCOS
and the birth story.
I kind of have to go back.
That was huge.
Some of that too was the clip went viral, right? For the PCOS, the infertility and acne episode. So it was people we didn't know. Overwhelming.
That's so true. That was the only one. That's like, our number one, actually.
That was our number one.
Because we had people that we knew were responding to that. And then
it was a lot.
Tons of strangers that were commenting like everything from great ideas to I feel seen to.
Which I realized the other day too. I was thinking that like we don't have a social media manager. If you want to do one, we would love volunteer hours.
Yeah. Oh my God.
No, but it was like a little overwhelming even replying to all the messages. But we did.
Yeah.
Okay. How do you balance being candid and witty while discussing sensitive topics like, fertility and race?
Well, I think we grew up in a household where laughter is medicine. I think
Trevor Noah said it best.
What did he say?
He says laughter is medicine.
Oh, that's his thing. No, it is. And, just like Trevor Noah loved his book, especially when you grow up in a situation where your home is your safe space. And I think that's what you and I sitting together is just no different than when we would sit on our couches in DC in our studios, or we sit, in our bunk beds back home. Like or
Or you went out and separated during homework time.
Right. Like even when things are shit and things are serious, we would figure out how to add a laugh in there because you need that. You need it to pick you up, you know?
Can't find humor in the situations.
Then you're screwed. I mean, I was even laughing when I was on my back. I was still laughing.
Yeah.
You gotta, and I literally, Mimi and Joe would cry so hard sometimes because they'd be like, you guys, seriously, I can't laugh. It hurts so bad. Like wanting to laugh for that, but also being like, I actually physically, this is so much pain because it's moving me even more. But you know, it's like that release sometimes is all
it's like you said,
got.
The opposite of laughing is crying. And then when you're like, I just can't
anymore. I need a break from that.
And that's what, you know, I think they also talk about it a lot with grief, that sometimes people will like laugh when something is terrible. And I'm like, yeah, but that's a coping mechanism.
Which is mine to a T.
That's mine to a T as well. Ooh, like people don't take it seriously sometimes because I'm like, you know, it is what it is. I had
some times where I remember as a kid, I told mom something that I had heard at school that was like totally serious. And I was laughing my ass off. And she was like, why are you laughing? And I was like, I just don't know.
Oh, yeah. You're like,
I don't know.
Yeah. Because the alternative.
Yeah.
Okay.
What's one piece of advice you'd give to someone thinking about starting their own podcast? Oh, whoa.
Back off.
It's ours.
There's not enough space for everyone. I would say, other than just do it, like everybody says, I think when you listen to any podcast that has like a podcast episode about starting a podcast, like just do the thing, but try to record like a batch of episodes to see if you can even keep up with the cadence. Like get like 10. Because
the 10, I think, which is great, is like you might record 2 and be like, I love this, but you need to figure out, do you love it? And do you put the time into making the consistent like these consistent episodes? Like if it takes you a year to make 10 episodes, this probably isn't for you, you know? Like you need to sit down, you need to get consistent.
Yeah.
And then
pretend
once you have
that it's live.
Yeah.
And that's why we kind of focused on, and you'll notice it at our first 10 episodes, but even we'll reference, things weren't chronological. We may be like, oh, it's St. Patrick's Day today. And, you know, you were listening to it and it was June or something, just as an example.
Yeah.
But if you can pretend that it's live, that you have a commitment of every week, like Morgan was saying, you can then kind of build up that, can I get there? Because otherwise, at least for us, and I think that was the best strategy, and we kind of hinted on this too in the last week's We're Women with ADHD episode. And now we can attribute some of that to the ADHD. I'm not always a project finisher.
Same.
If I go it alone.
And
my husband was very much like, do the podcast every day, do a little thing that gets you towards what you want to do for the podcast. If that's like first step of like, don't just order the equipment, like have a plan. What are you going to do with it? And so I felt like I also had this accountability too. Cease was very pro, like, launch this podcast.
If you guys could see this, or I mean, you can, but if you're, I know a lot, just listen. But if you're watching, I'm grinning because Stacey and I are very similar people, and we married very similar people that are both named Joe. And Joe Donahue, since the moment I met Joe Donahue, all of my ideas pretty much came to fruition because I had my partner that was like,
do the thing.
You can. Yeah, you're fucking, yeah, do it. I mean, because that man, like one of his friends said this about him. This was before I ever met him. He moved on to a sailboat and in Annapolis, right at the end of his time in the Navy and when he was getting out. And he had said it to this friend that also it was the Navy
Joe
wife
Donahue was in the Navy. When he got out of the Navy, moved on to the sailboat.
Yes. And one of his friends said, this was one of his good friends' wives said, you are that person that if you say it, you do it and it happens. She was like, you said to me like a year ago, I'm going to move on to a sailboat. And then here fucking you are, you know, living on a sailboat. Yeah. She's like, you know, so many people say these things and don't do them.
Yeah, that's how she says.
And you do it. And so it's just, it wasn't only that I was inspired by the fact that Donahue would start something and finish it, but that he was always a backer for me
it was
to finish it. He was always partnering up with me to
that's
get
how I
it
felt
done.
with Cease. It was accountability, not where he's like, "What did you do today?" We have it on the list, but just genuinely took interest in and such support in what I wanted to do. It wasn't just support, like, that's a great idea. He was like, you should. Like, you and your sisters, like, to me, your voices are your superpower. Like, the way you guys communicate with people, the way people look to you to communicate, the way you are in social situations of, like, how you work a room. He was like, not everybody has that. You naturally are gifted with how you communicate with others and to others.
Right. And so
I said, you right, baby.
I said, you right.
I'm doing the damn podcast.
We're doing it. And so
that's why you are my husband.
You know what the big thing was, I think, too, is that when that happened, I said, yes, we're doing it. But you were like, okay, I'm going to order the equipment. And that was a big thing.
Well, you know what else was funny? And I'm like, not to tangent. I was thinking of this yesterday. So it's interesting that we didn't, again, plan to do this episode. And this question was coming up.
Yeah.
What also, I think I was thinking about this in relation to the ADHD thing. When I listened to the episode last week when it went live about the finishing stuff. Yeah. It was also when I went to the psychic. Remember?
I totally forgot about that. Wait, what the fuck? What'd she say? I forget, actually. No, I remember that she said...
I'll go into it deep. We'll talk about another episode.
Because we can always talk about it freely and then we can cut it. Because I don't remember and I want to know what should be on.
Well, first, it wasn't just that what she said. It was that other people were in the room for the reading. My best friend since childbirth, literally, and his husband. Then... other best friends since high school. Actually, he didn't hear it. He was getting a reading. But I was with their partners. I was with one of my best girlfriends since, DC days. Yada, yada. People that knew me from different stages of life were hearing this. And before she got to the, like, what you should be doing in your career, because it was just a reading. It was like, let me see if...
And she didn't know anything, because people are always very curious about this. You sat down.
I sat down.
You walked in, no appointment.
It was a group of friends.
Was there
appointment.
No appointment.
No appointment.
Okay.
No appointment.
Okay,
we
now
were like, hey, it's a rainy day. We're going to do something funny. And so there was different options of what you could do. And I said, I just want to do the reading. It was supposed to be, it wasn't a pomp. It was just like her literally
reading,
sitting
like
there
your aura.
Across from me, like you and I.
Is she holding your hand?
Nope. Wasn't touching me. She's sitting across from me and she's just telling me about myself.
Okay. Do you remember what she said? Because I want to know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And I will say first, before I even tell you the things, the reactions of all those other people was holy shit.
Okay.
They were like, your reading was dead on. Like,
wait, now you got it. So say it, because I'm freaking out.
She was like, you're someone that when you enter a room, and again, this is not in the order of which she said the things. I'm just grabbing all the... You're someone that when you enter a room, like, people are attracted to your energy, but it's also that they really, like, if your energy shifts, it impacts people. And I'm like, story of my life.
You need to stay
He's
up,
like, are you
Stacey?
okay? And I have to be up.
Up.
We're up. We're happy people.
Okay, move on. You're right,
energy. She also said that people come to me with their problems and advice. They look to you as a North Star, even if it's not something that you have like experience in. They want to know what you think.
Okay.
And I'm like,
true.
She also said I was an earth angel, which whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
She said you're someone that you're very successful in the things that you do. When you get something done, you'll do it. You're like a reliable person, but you should not be sitting at a desk anymore. You have a kind of career that you are so outgoing. People are drawn to you. They also are drawn to what you have to say. You're not supposed to be, the job that you're doing is not what you're always going to be doing. You are going to be, she's like, I see like a lot of people around you. Like you're traveling to do things like where you be doing like engagements, or you're like, she's like, you are, in a past life, you were a journalist. Swear to God. I had chills. I kind of right now. She's like, in a past life, you were a journalist. She's like, you were a writer, you were a journalist. You were asking people questions. You were getting to know people. You were getting information from them, and they were willing to give it to you. And now people trust that in you. They get that air. They want to come to you with their problems. They know you're someone that will listen, but also that will talk to them. And then that was like the big thing for that's when she started. And I was like, and
wait, there's more?
And I was very,
me. Wait, keep going.
Wait,
there's
I will
more?
say when I said, people are like wondering, I I won't go into the
Stacey's
research that I've done.
Improv. She knows how to keep a straight face.
But also like read about rhetoric and stuff and took rhetoric classes in college where I was very aware of my body language,
all that. Yeah.
And I just was looking her eye to eye and I would go, okay, interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I was giving her nothing. I wasn't looking left. I wasn't looking right. I wasn't looking for anybody. I had my hands just folded in my lap.
Yeah.
You know, I was like,
I'm stone cold. Dying though. What's the rest?
And but that was basically what it said. She's like, I just see you to be in a career where like you're able to, like, basically she essentially said, because I remember specifically, Chris was like, okay, that was crazy, right? Like your reading was dead on. And that was the consensus. It didn't say like, we walked out of there and everyone was like, okay, what'd you guys think? Everyone immediately, he was like, Stacey's was so accurate. And James was like, I agree. And like James has known me in and out my entire life.
You know what the funny thing is that I have absolutely heard this story. I do remember like the second, but I, forgot all the details, and I definitely forgot in the last 5 months that you did that. 6 months.
I kind of had too.
I'm like, and now that we're at this moment where it does feel like just things are starting to cook with the pod, and oh my God, it's hilarious that you were thinking of that.
But that was everyone's reaction. And James was like, yeah. And who is my best friend who's like, honest and knows me, but it was also like out of the two of us, we joke, like, I'm the pushing the limits. He's coloring inside the lines. He was like factual in his like attorney way of like, no, like, that was weird. That was weird.
Oh my God, I'm obsessed. Okay, let's go to the next one.
But yeah, so that was,
oh my God.
Do it. I'm not saying go get a psychic reading, but I was thinking about that as being like,
no, that was a great tangent. That was a great tangent. I don't care if that follows with the questions or not. That made sense.
Okay.
Totally.
Great. Okay. So if you could have any guest on your podcast, who would it be and why?
Okay, I've told you guys this before, and I still have the same reaction. Like, I can't help this. Is who comes into my head immediately, because I'm just thinking like it would be a friendship. We would then be connected, and it would be like, I just want that. I am obsessed with meeting new people that become a deep connection, And so I just immediately think of Fancy Haygood and Christian Soriano. Like, I'm sorry. I think that it would be a full on Kiki. I actually think it would be ideally them together and me and you, and it would be fucking hilarious.
Also, especially because like, we allyship. We love our gay community, right?
Absolutely. But then it's also the Maryland connection.
But that's what I'm saying.
And
with Christian, it's like Naptown girls.
See you soon.
For me, I'll say, my go-to answer, which I've said on another podcast, is Oprah, the queen, the mother.
I mean,
herself.
you've always said that.
I wrote letters to Oprah.
Yeah,
who does that?
Totally.
We're like a tell-all. Obviously, I want to just pick her brain. But if it wasn't her, I would love to have Dr. A from SheMD podcast. Dr. Thais, I can't pronounce her last name, but all the Kardashians and all the celebrities call her Dr. A. She's just like a world-renowned OBGYN who I feel like is the God, to get her in a room. I'd be like, just tell me what to do with all these fucking diagnoses and whatever.
It would be so helpful for you on a personal health journey,
especially the fertility side.
I feel like, yes, all of it, like the PCOS, the fertility, all the things. But I also feel like just us also, they started their podcast right after we did. And so I think that too,
I gave them an idea.
We totally did. They were in our pod. No, but I'm just saying, I think that they would also enjoy being able to talk to us about this.
Oh my God.
I think that we would really kiki with them.
I'll give you everything. I'll let you post my fucking medical records online to the world. I don't care. Here's my blood type. Here's my social. I'm kidding.
Yeah, totally.
Okay. Next
one's mine to read, sweetie. I will ask it. I know you're just so excited.
Please.
Kidding. What's next for Do It for the Story? Any exciting plans or stories you're looking forward to sharing?
Yeah, we're viral. I'm kidding.
More than viral. We've been signed.
We've been
contractually signed.
Manifest. No, we haven't been signed yet. But the one thing, we have a lot of things cooking, like you mentioned. So I'm feeling good. There's some good momentum.
Yeah,
and
we're
change of scenery. Change of seasons, not scenery.
Yes, change of seasons. And I'm just of the mind that like certain things you keep quiet we don't need to talk about it, but the things are cooking.
As Rich Williams, our father, always says, people only need to know as much about you as you tell them.
Yep.
Everybody take that note.
Yep.
Before you want to post on your Facebook stories.
So that's that. But one thing I will be able to say, because I know they won't care, is Annapolis Film Festival has asked us to come back. So we will be doing more interviews
in some capacity. We will let you know.
In some capacity.
As the details are ironed out.
We will have those beautiful media badges again, and we'll be raving about the experience.
Yeah.
I think it's in March this year, end of March. 2025.
Weird.
So it's
coming up to say 2025.
I know. Anyways, this was fun, y'all.
A final, I actually wanted to ask even more. I was going to ask you.
Oh, ask me.
Just for everybody to know.
Yeah.
I think, again, with the career stuff and to give more background when we're in other topics is a good, foundational point.
Oh, that's true. Where did we come from kind of thing? Yeah.
Yeah. What was your college major?
Oh, it was
study in school?
No, it was communications with a focus in advertising. And then my minor was studio art. So I same kind of classes as you, like rhetoric theory, like understanding, communication, understanding marketing, realized I hated advertising and, but I always loved the creative side of stuff. I always loved the visuals, which is why I loved,
I'm going to follow it up with a second question before I answer it. What going or leaving college, what was your dream job?
I think it probably would have been something in fashion. I'm not sure what specifically because it was such a different time then.
I think you would have. That's what's so sad, like you're saying, not knowing careers. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I think you've been a great buyer.
Yeah, I think
I know is a hard career.
Yeah, it is a really hard career, which is why I don't regret not going to
or styling.
I'm not saying that I think it would have been styling. I think if I had gone styling, that would have been my ideal. But I'm also I don't know. I just think you end up where you want to be. I don't even necessarily think of it as what's meant to be will be. I think though that creatively, even doing this podcast, I think that my feet are going to fall where they were always supposed to land. But I do think it would have been
fashion.
If Google had been a thing, if reality TV had been a thing, when I was a kid, I think it would have been so aware of all the jobs in fashion that I definitely would have had a job in fashion.
Yeah.
It was just so,
I agree.
It seemed so foreign and far away because there seemed like there was no access and I wasn't represented in anything and, yada, yada.
Yeah. Yeah. I think now if I was in college, what I would be doing, and it's I would definitely be going into, I think I would have been a similar major. Which my major was mass communications with my concentration was journalism and new media. New media just meant online for the web, writing. And then my minor was electronic media and film. So my dream job, I thought, would have been being a reporter,
Katie
being the next
Couric
Katie Couric. Yeah, I was Today's Show. I'm Oprah. I want to have the mic. I want to interview you.
Yeah.
Once I did the internships, shout out to WMAR, ABC2 News, Baltimore. And I was doing the writing on the web thing because it was just the reality was the industry is going this way. I was I'm not the writer. I don't enjoy that. And I realized that this is not for me. And then wasn't big on the newsroom hours. But so that was what I thought I would be doing. Now I think I would be definitely working in the podcasting world. I would be still with the goal to have a podcast, but I would be producing
for
I
sure.
would be, I would be doing.
It's funny actually at the Annapolis Film Festival, I had that same reaction and being now friends with the people that run the festival and other people that are also involved and seeing how they went career-wise being creatives. I'm I could have totally been a film producer or worked on a set.
Yeah, the affiliate market. Yeah, there's so many other things too. It's just when you think of marketing, you were saying design.
Yeah.
You're just thinking those
because where we lived and where we grew up, we didn't have that.
Right,
there was no way of understanding.
Yeah, and
we
even
didn't
going into we didn't get to have more than one internship because I'm I can't take off a summer and not get paid.
Right,
it's not
because
it wasn't. I need it for college.
We didn't. Now you get. I think most internships are paid now, but they definitely were. None were paid then.
No.
But anyway, no, that's a great,
but so that's
great
what
question.
you were doing. So that, and then my next,
Actually, I wanted to tell you, made me think of something when you said, but it would be something in this podcasting space. It was funny. The other night I was hanging out, with some mom friends, and we were talking about that. They were tossing around. I got there late and they were like, "Oh, we forgot to ask you," because we talked about this earlier. Like, what if you could do anything right now? Like, what would be your dream job? And I said,
cute.
you know, it's funny. I said, I'm going to say this first because I put things out there and like I start to manifest it, but I do realize that sometimes then my opinion changes or my choice changes. Like, you know, I said, I just have had other moments where like I got to the thing and thought that was the dream, and then realized like along the way that actually, or I was working towards it and then realized I so didn't like the journey that meant like clearly I wasn't going to like the destination. Mm-hmm. And I said, but like right now, I would say this podcast really takes off. And like, that's the thing. I was like, I fully fucking enjoy it. I think it's really beneficial, not only to me, but to society. I love the fact that it is like, we are contributing nothing to like pollution and waste. And like, we're just sharing knowledge. And I love that. I love that.
It's not like it's
there's no burden that it's causing.
Like, that's bad.
Yeah, there's no burden.
The only part of it that anybody could like, that's bad, is like, oh, they said this thing or that. And I'm like, I just don't care.
Yeah, but that's again, that's what I even said like at the top of the pod. But now I know that my intentions are good. I might have cared in my 20s if someone was like, fuck you, you said that thing, because I think I was still second guessing my opinions. I'm not saying my opinions don't change now in my 40th year of life. They do. I want my opinions to change, but I'm saying I know my intentions are always good.
Do you worry about offending people? That people will be offended by what they hear us say on the pod?
It's not that I worry about it. I don't personally think I would never drop something that I thought someone was going to be offended by. Meaning, like, I'm not saying like, okay, I dropped the racists and bigots and I know the KKK member is going to be offended by that. Okay, I'm not talking about someone like that. I mean, like, you know, someone who's also trying to do well and contribute love and happiness to society. I'm never putting something out there that I think one of those people are going to be offended by. If I ever offended someone, I would feel badly, no different than if I offended you. And I would never actually mean to do that.
Yeah.
But my conscience would be clear in that I would say, I put that information out there, not ever having experienced this thing that you person are upset about. I had no idea that even existed. And now that I do, I will, and if I agree with you that was like, that's, you know,
we're not trying.
I'm never going to try and do that.
I knew that was a rogue. I was just because it just was kind of like an organic question because I was thinking about it. It's not like we ever try.
No.
Like me saying, and I guess because I said, oh, I just don't care. It's not I don't care. I am confident enough to not worry about somebody that might be like, I'm not going to talk to you again. I'm like, cool.
Yeah, I think that's what it is.
That's on you.
I care how other people feel. I just don't care how you feel about me.
Yeah, it's that more. I'm
like,
if you think like, why are they doing a podcast? Like, you're not making any money off of this right now. Because obviously we're not. Like, and also go look at any major podcast. You don't for like a good portion. But I mean, when people might be questioning what our motive is, like we already told you, right, what we enjoy about it. But I think sometimes where it's a like, oh, I could never. I've heard only a couple people like, I wouldn't share that, or like, kudos to you. Some of it's just around vulnerability, right? Sharing your health journeys and whatnot. There's another part of me where I'm like, yeah, I think people that think like that are worried about how other people are hearing them or seeing them, that's about them. That's like about like, you know, they don't have, I'm like, oh, I'm confident now. Like,
and I'm,
you know, like, mommy, I made it. Like, I'm married, I'm strong, I've been through some stuff. I'm just ready to be like, oh, I'm living.
I want to add a little bit more to that. Because I know exactly what you're saying. You're talking about the individual that probably wants, you know, even though they're not going to say it, they probably want to have the mic. They probably feel like they would love to get some stuff off their chest. And you're like, God, that sucks to live in that space and not have the confidence to like say what you want to say. And I'm not even saying have the mic, like literally have a podcast.
Yeah.
I'm saying confidently in a circle of friends, say what you want to say. And I think that that's who you're talking about. But then I also think there's the other camp of people that are just like, the last place I want to be is standing on a stage or having people hear my voice or having like, you know, is being someone that's known. You're not talking about that person. You're talking about the person that is
because
suppressing.
Right. And I think I was even thinking about it if the like worried about it. Because there's some times where, you know, I get heated. I'm just like, I don't fucking care. I'm going to be off the lid and whatever. That then I realized, okay, I need to make sure I'm having contacts. I need to watch my tone so people are like hearing me. It doesn't seem, but I think they're like in the social media episode, as annoying that we did. Like for me, the podcast is a creative outlet, and I think I did say, I don't remember. I guess maybe I had a guilty conscience after of saying like, I'm not judging people that are on social media every day. I'm just saying like, try it maybe like for a week not to do it and just like see how you feel. Or like that was for me the difference why I can't be me, Stacey, who like I can't. This is too much. I'm like, do it. I'm entertained by you. I'm clearly following you. I'm looking at it, you know. But I think like for some people, social media is their creative outlet. Posting pictures of their kids is their creative outlet. For me, my creative outlet is the podcast. Yeah, no, that's so true because every creativity is also a spectrum. And I think that's what it is too. I think it's people, I think everyone is born with creativity, right? I'm not saying that there are clearly some people that come out of the womb, you know, and they are able to sing. Like there's some people that are carrying a fucking tune. That's a natural ability, but we all have a creative ability to some degree. And I think there's some of us that are more in tune with it. I think some of us grew up in a household where it was more nurtured. And I think because in a capitalistic society, you know, even look at the arts, you know, we saw Peel Back the Curtain with the Annapolis Film Festival. How many of those people are like scraping pennies together to make these productions? It's just like every time there's a public school that's losing funding, what goes first? Right. The arts. And, you know, so we live in that society. And so, I mean, even like think of the stupid things that like people would make fun of in high school of like, oh, the play and don't be in the theater. But it's like, dude, you know how much that theater would have helped you with your business, or with becoming an attorney or all that. But also you're sitting at home watching movies, or you're sitting at home obsessed with Blink-182. But again, it's do you know what I'm saying? And that's exactly. So that's where I'm like, you can sit there and I don't even know how we've gotten here, but I do think of the piece of like, I was just saying the offending people the offending people, because I do know that there are people that are totally probably that know me to some degree that are totally mocking me behind my back. But those are also the people that I know are obsessed with a certain movie series or obsessed with music and have probably never picked up an instrument. I've picked up a few, you know what I mean? And it's just like, don't get mad at me for living, because I was brought up in a household where if you don't try, then you never know. Yeah. And not to, I'll cap it, but I'll end it with one thing that you had said to me probably 2 years ago that has really stuck with me, that I've repeated to other people, is a lot of times how people reacting is their own anxiety. Yes. I learned, it's helped me big time in situations where that coupled with everybody, this is a good one for everyone, especially if you're ever frustrated with a person that you have, whether it be a coworker, a family member, whoever, is not why. And parents to kids, especially in that adolescent years, are like, why aren't they doing what I want them to be doing? Why are they into this thing when I want them to go to the theater camp? I don't know. Is not why are they like this, but what happened to them? What happened to them? Yeah. When you go to therapy and you have to look at yourself in the mirror and really analyze your own shit and start to process. It's funny, even Kourtney Kardashian was talking about this on the Skinny Confidential. I listened to that. And I loved it. I was like, because it's exactly what I've told other people. You go to therapy and you have more empathy and sympathy for other people. And more Why? Space. Because you have that sympathy and empathy for yourself. My aggression, my anxiety really calmed after therapy because I was no longer
able to be mad at myself or defensive of myself to others because I had processed my shit. I had processed my trauma.
Yeah.
And even if I hadn't processed it all, I had the tools to continue to process it moving forward. And, you know, it's funny, when you go out into society and you have done therapy and you really try and take it in and breathe with it and pay attention to people and have conversations with people after going to therapy, you can see, you will have a moment where you look at yourself and you be like, that person has not gone, or that person has fucking sat on the couch and I could sit here all fucking day with you.
Yeah.
You know, like, and
well, I was going to say, we'll save my other, I literally wrote down little notes. I'll save my other comments because I know this is a topic that we have from the episode is to share our own therapy journeys.
Yeah, we should, because
I think it'd be great just to get people that are hesitant about it. But yeah, I'll save it.
Yeah. And I think, you know, and I do save it, but I think folks that are hesitant to go to therapy, I think are often, they're just not ready to do the deep look in the mirror. You know, it's like, and I think the sad thing about that is that that's not what therapy is about. It's not about you even having to come to grips with or process. It's just about giving yourself the space to breathe, to say like, it's okay. You know,
it just helps you be more introspective and, like you're saying, understanding others, because we don't talk enough about how our minds operate and think and how we process things or how events can affect and impact us. Trauma isn't just blunt force to your head, you know, it's interactions, it's moments, it's a parent not picking you up from school on time, like every day. And that's just not I'm just using an example of something that's like considered to be trauma is a wide ranging term. Some trauma is bigger than others, but
they say in therapy, we say little T and big T, you know, like we understand there's varying levels, but it all does add up and it all matters. And I think it's just, I don't know. It's funny. It's like it just needs to be rebranded. Therapy needs to be called like chatting, like, you know, or just catching a drink. I'm catching a drink with my buddy, like versus like, you know,
mental massage. Yeah. I'm just having a mental massage. I'm going to go get a back massage. I'm getting a mental massage.
Yeah, totally. I love that.
Yeah. But anyway, we can probably end there. I just wanted to add in a couple other, because I think it's always nice to know, like, probably the recruiter in you, former recruiter.
Oh my God, we wouldn't even have talked about
where you, like, I like to know what somebody went to school for, what was their dream job.
That's a great one.
I always ask that. I used to always ask that, like, you know, in an ideal world, when you graduated college, like, what were you going to be doing?
Yeah.
And because I think, you know, it can change.
Well, and I was going to say, because it can change. And that's the thing that,
and here I am working in tech.
No, but you know, that's the thing that I will say that I try and tell people all the time that I've learned over the years of interviewing thousands of people as a recruiter is there are so few that graduate with a degree that they end up being like, that was the thing that they were going to do. And
really, it's really rare.
And I used to think of it as like a really sad thing. Like we force ourselves to go to school young. And I still wholeheartedly believe in like gap years and experience. And before you like invest a ton of money in something that you really wish you would have invested in something else. But I still think, and this podcast is that too, that I still think you always have the opportunity to pivot. Do I think at 40, I'm going to go back and become a fucking doctor? No, I think that would fucking crush me, you know, but there is still opportunity. Maybe you would go do it all over again and be a doctor, or, you know, maybe now I don't know, fuck it. But I'm just saying.
Yeah, you can do anything. It's just like you're saying. That's why we're doing this podcast too, because it's never too late to try something new, and life gets boring if you're just sitting.
That's fucking right. Not on that note.
Not on this couch though.
We're about to get up.
Have a great weekend. Remember, review us, subscribe, download on Apple,
with
Spotify.
One friend. If you liked this episode, share it with one friend.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.